Hello millionaires and welcome to the Millionaires Club. For centuries, those who control land and property have been historically the richest members of our society. This has not changed. By the end of this one video, you should have a clear understanding of how wealth is built to real estate and why the rich always have some part of their portfolio invested in land and buildings. Number 1. Store of value. Historically, the real estate market has outperformed gold in terms of store of value and returns, exception being the events post-2007. But even then, smart investors have picked up properties with a discount. Real estate is one of the safest investments one can make, because the value of properties very rarely go down, and even then, it's only for short periods of time. Point number 2. Natural appreciation. 1. The population is constantly increasing. 2. People need places to live and do business. 3. Most businesses are concentrated in hotspot cities. These 3 drive the demand for housing up constantly, thus increasing the value of property owned. This basically means the world population keeps increasing and you will always need a place to live, and everyone will need a place to live or do business. So if you have a property today, the chances that it will be more important in a few years when there is more people looking for a property in the same space you are will drive the prices up. So don't forget natural appreciation. Third point, passive income for life. This is probably our favorite point, and if you have been part of the Millionaires Club for some time, you are already familiar with cash flow and earning passive income from properties, which is why we'd like to put it in a different perspective. Own an apartment in Manhattan or Paris that's rented out, and as of making this video, you can live for the rest of your life from that single rental. We personally know people who've done this and relocated full-time to Asia. People need central housing, and there are no new apartments built in the center of cities. Even when they do, they are ultra expensive and out of the reach for the average person, specifically because these projects are reserved for other real estate investors. There will always be demand for quality real estate, and people are willing to pay the high rents because the alternative is to waste up 2 hours every day in transit from the edge of the city. Real estate is the modern day version of an oil rig in your backyard, working 24/7 to make money for you, super passive. Here is a fundamental lesson for you from one of the greatest investors of all time, Warren Buffett. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work for money until you die. Point number 4. Price range. A big issue most people have is that real estate is not accessible. That is too expensive. Yes, it is too expensive if you look at real estate in Manhattan or Paris, like I mentioned earlier. But move it a bit to the edge and prices begin to drop considerably. You can buy a beachside 1-bedroom apartment in Georgia for $20,000. You can buy a 3-bedroom apartment in Spain for about 40,000 euros. Zillow is filled with $60,000 homes up for sale. And here is a brutal truth for you. If you are unable to make 50k to invest in a property, the investment life isn't for you. On the other side of the spectrum, you have mansions, castles, residential complexes, shopping malls and office buildings. There are options for everyone. You just have to look. Point number 5 that makes real estate one of the best investments is fairly easy access to funding. Anywhere in the developed world, you have access to banks. Banks provide credit if you are employed and prove that you have the means to pay back the money. It's never been easier and cheaper than it is today to have access to capital. Many governments are offering preferred interest rates when it comes to buying a home. Learn about these programs and take advantage of them. Go visit, call your bank and ask what can they offer for you. Call your government instances and ask what they can offer you. In some cases, there is as little as 5% money down on accredited investment backed by the state, and everybody has access to these types of crediting programs. Don't complain about the game being rigged if you don't take the time to learn the rules of the game. Point number 6. Other people can pay for your investment. Let's say you don't want to go through all these financial acrobatics and instead you want to settle for just a simple ownership. All you have to do is to make sure the income coming from the rental property is greater than the mortgage plus supportive expenses. Supportive expenses can be taxes, can be regulatory fees, can be anything you have to pay extra, and you should always add a little bit of management and to keep it going in case something breaks. If you can find a property where people pay you enough to cover mortgage and supportive expenses, you are basically making money and you are covering your own investment while you increase your net worth. Here is how the math breaks down. You put down $20,000 for a $100,000 property, with the remaining $80,000 on mortgage for 30 years. Property rents out for 1.2k a month, let's say. Your expenses are mortgage, $350 a month, utilities, insurance, repairs, management, and vacancy. Let's bundle them up to $650, totaling $1,000 a month. This property has a cash flow of $200 for the next 30 years. It will put you $200 every month in your pocket while the tenant will be paying your investment or your beginning investment, your mortgage, if you can say it like that, and other expenses. Effectively buying your property and maintaining it. Where else can you get such a low effort investment? 90% of all millionaires are invested into real estate. Now let me tell you the why, and one of the whys, point number 7. Real estate is a tangible asset. Many investors believe in seeing and touching their investments. Some people look at crypto and stocks as imaginary money, and they are not too wrong. If the internet goes out, you lose all your money. For those people, real estate is by far the preferred choice. You simply can't go wrong with owning land and properties because they can't go nowhere. They'll always be there and no one can create more of them. In case of emergency, you could use it to personally, as a residence or office. The fact that I cannot be stolen, hacked, or more is also a plus. Traditional investors prefer tangible assets with a steady return over high risk, high reward alternatives. So if you are a traditional investor, you should be looking into real estate for sure. And as you are a traditional investor, you probably like to have some kind of security behind you. This brings us to point number 8. They are easily insurable. Insurance companies are all over the world. Every property, every piece of land can and should be insured. There is an entire infrastructure around the insurance of real estate properties, with insurance brokers competing against each other for the best rates with the highest coverage. With your property insured, you are sleeping well at night, as your tenant is covering that cost as well. The main reasons why you should insure every property you own are: number 1, protection from property damage. Natural disasters happen, be protected. Reimbursement for lost items. Theft or break-ins happen, be protected. 3, protection from lawsuits. People will try to sue you for any reason whatsoever, be protected, be ready for that. This ability to protect your investments from harm makes real estate one of the best investments. Point number 9, easily transferable for kids. This is another big reason for you to look on to building your legacy wealth, let's say it like that. Real estate is easily transferable for the next in line. The infrastructure is there. In most countries and states, there is no tax on inherited property. Let's do the math, shall we? If you do your job well, buy properties, leave it to your kids, then don't screw it up and instead manage to acquire the same number of properties as you did. But the time the third generation comes around, the rental income coming from those properties should be more than enough to cover their living costs. All they have to do is not screw it up. This is the reason why the richest families in Florence in 1427 are still the richest families in Florence to this day. They own property and land, they diversify by investing in businesses, and the fortune keeps growing. Number 10, diversification. As I just said on the last point, diversification, they diversified into businesses, but you can diversify into other kinds of things. When people think of real estate, they picture an apartment or duplex rent out to a single family. There is more to this story. There is a plethora of options when investing into real estate. Number 1, single family, like an apartment for example. Multi-family, like a townhouse, if you can look at it that way. Number 3, apartment complexes. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Multiple apartment. Short-term rentals like Airbnbs that can bring you great leverage, but if in case of crisis you'll probably be damned. Hotels, you have most likely stayed in one before. Commercial, like owning the space where the bakery next door is. Commercial complexes, like owning a shopping mall. Office buildings, companies moving their employees in. Industrial, owning a space where plastic cups are being made, for example. And 10, agriculture land. And I believe this 10th one is the future, because more and more people will need to eat as the population grows. So agricultural land is something I'd like to explore more in the future, and I'd advise all you millionaires to do the same. And these are just some common ones. Although similar, they behave differently, have different needs and different price points. And last but not least, point number 11. Fairly easy to liquidate. The last reason on our list is quick access to cash if needed be. Although it's not easy to liquidate as your stocks due to the high demand, there is always someone looking to buy. On average, it takes the average person between 60 to 90 days to sell a house. Although that sounds like a lot, it really isn't when you think about it. Not to mention that if the cash need is urgent, you could take out a mortgage or refinance the place. All these reasons should get you thinking. We actually recommend you check local real estate websites and find out how much money an entry-level property like an apartment or a duplex goes for in your area. Then make a plan for the next couple of years to be able to get yourself there, one property at a time. Just out of curiosity, how much is a one-bedroom apartment where you live? Let us know in the comments. And that's it for this video, millionaires. We truly believe you'll become a better real estate investor if you just watch this video so far and you apply the things we told you. If you have any questions or you'd like to discuss this topic with us, comment down below and our CEO will personally read and answer them. All of them. And for more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a like so that we can get to even more people who do need to know this information. Also follow us on Instagram for daily content, and I'll see you on our next video. Bye.